Hi everybody, Naturalist Linda here. Springtime is my most favorite time of year. There's so many interesting things that happen. The migration of the amphibians, the return of spring birds, and the appearance of some of our early spring wildflowers. Our program, one of our programs for this spring is called Spring Wildflower Folklore. So I thought maybe we'd take a little walk and we'll see if we can find some of these flowers. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the folklore that's associated with them. So come and join me on my walk. Here's some of our early blooming wildflowers. You might see these growing along roadsides early in the spring. This is called coltsfoot. People sometimes confuse them with dandelions because they kind of look like dandelions. This is another plant where the flowers come first, followed by the leaves later on. And the reason this is called coltsfoot is because the leaf sort of has the shape of a horse's foot, or a pony's foot. And so that'll come later after the flowers have bloomed. In folklore, the root of this plant had some medicinal properties, and apparently it was considered an astringent, which also had inflammation and irritation reducing properties, especially for easing congestion and easing issues with mucous membranes. So that's coltsfoot. Yellow is always such a happy color to see in the springtime. Okay, so I'm standing in a little wetland area here, and this is where another early spring plant likes to grow. Let's go over and take a look here. So this is skunk cabbage. This is what it looks like before the leaves come out. Oftentimes you'll find these in late winter, coming up through the snow, where the snow has been melted around those plants. And I'll tell you why in a couple minutes. Let's go over here and look at another plant. Let's go take a look at this one. So, all living things have a genus and a species name. And the species name of skunk cabbage is Foetidus. And the flower is located inside there. I don't know if you can see that yellow kind of spiky thing. And it's pollinated by insects that are attracted to rotten meat. And so you might see some little critters in late winter, early spring, flying in and out of that plant to pollinate the flower. So this plant has a unique ability to produce heat. I said before that it melts the snow around the plant, and that's because it can raise the temperature inside where the flower is to a temperature of about 70 degrees. And it's a process called thermogenesis, and that's the process, the ability of an animal to produce heat, and that happens through cellular respiration. But here's an amazing plant that can do the same thing. I think it makes it kind of unique. So I have in my hand a skunk cabbage leaf, which I'm going to crush up and have a little sniff. Wow. If you've never smelled a skunk cabbage leaf, you should try it sometime. It smells like a skunk. And apparently in folklore, the Native Americans would take the leaves and crush them up and actually inhale the odor, and it was supposed to relieve headaches. Although I'm not sure if I sniff this too much, I might get a headache. But anyway, that's what the folklore says. I don't know if it works. Maybe sometime I'll give it a try. So I don't know if you can see behind me there a bunch of green leaves that are poking up through the leaf litter on the forest floor. You might smell this plant before you realize that you're actually walking on it because it smells like onions. This is the plant that's called wild leek or wild ramp. They have festivals in Appalachian areas, eating contests. How many of these things can you eat? It is edible. Sort of tastes like a garlicky onion, sort of. Apparently the bulbs were, if they were pickled, were considered a delicacy. And then in folklore, the Native Americans believed that it could cure fever. And what they would do would be to pick it and wrap it in cloth and tie it around your wrist. And then when the plant turned brown, your fever was supposed to be gone. So anyway, I think I'd rather take Advil or something to cure fever, not wild leek. But there it is in the background. We'll take a closer look at it. The harbinger of spring is another one of the first blooming plants that comes up in the woods. Let's go down and take a closer look. This plant sometimes is called salt and pepper. Can you see it now? If this were a warm day, there would be all kinds of small native bees, native pollinators that would be flying around these blossoms and pollinating them. In fact, that's how I usually find them in the spring, is I just look for where all of the pollinator action is. Very difficult to see among the leaves.